Hello. In this series of videos, we're going to go step by step in how to create a Google form and also how to use those Google forms for assessments and taking a look at the data that we get out of those forms as well. So don't worry, this all won't be in one video. We're going to take these in small chunks. The first thing that we want to do is start in Google Drive. My recommendation is that anytime that you create a form, you go ahead and navigate to the folder where you want the form and eventually the data from that form to be housed. That way you don't have a bunch of random forms and the spreadsheets that go with those forms just kind of randomly floating around in your drive. So for this case, I've already navigated to a folder in my Google Drive. I'm going to go over to the New button and click New. And then you'll notice that Forms doesn't show up in the initial menu. So I'm going to click More, and then it's the first choice that I have here. So we're going to start off with just a basic form. If you click right here, it gives you the option of from a template or from a blank form, but we're just going to go with Google Forms for right now. And it comes up rather quickly. You'll notice that you have a default color palette that is chosen for you, and we will get into how to make changes to that in just a little bit. The first thing that we need to do is title our form. So whatever topic that your form is going to be for, whether it's going to be for an assessment or whether you're just going to be asking some questions of your students about how they're doing, that can go right here. So I'm just going to call this a check-in form because I just want to find out maybe how my students are doing and what maybe support that they may need from me. Now you'll notice that it says up here in the upper left-hand corner, untitled form, and we want it to be named the same as this. It's really easy to do that because once you've named your actual title for your form, you simply need to go over here and click this, and you'll notice that it took the exact same name, so easy peasy. However, if you do change the name here, you will need to click here and type in the new change that you have here. Now the form description, most of the time I don't ever bother putting a description of the form here because pretty much it goes straight into the first question and people get a general understanding of what's going on. However, if you do decide to put a form description here, you can just type in, just wanting to see how everyone is doing. This is just between you and me. Okay, so you'll notice that it already gives me my first question, which in this case is a multiple choice, as we can see over here on the right-hand side. Now, in Google Forms, you have a variety of different question types that you can choose from. So to see those different question types, you have a upside-down triangle. And if I click this, then it gives me the option of short answer, paragraph, multiple choice, checkbox, drop-down, file upload, etc., etc., etc. So you've got quite a few choices here. So we're going to start with a multiple choice question. And I'm just going to ask, how are you feeling right now? Maybe this is something that I want my kids to complete every day, just so I can kind of see, you know, how are things going? Are they feeling okay? And just kind of help me as a teacher gauge whether or not maybe I need to check in on them or call their parent or guardian just to kind of see how they're doing. I definitely want to make the question a required question so that they can't skip it. So I'm going to click required right down here. And here's where Google Forms gets pretty fun. So if students are younger and you're concerned about them not being able to maybe read the answers and you want to give them some visual cues to go along with your answer choices, you can do that. So I might say, great, okay, and maybe don't give them too bunch of choices. Great, okay, and sad. So we're just going to keep this one simple. And you notice that I started to type another choice here and I decided that I don't want it. So I'm going to click the X to get rid of it. And that's all you have to do. If you have an answer choice here that you no longer want, you click the X to remove. You'll notice that as I'm hovered over this question or this answer selection, I have 2 rows of dots, and when I move my mouse over these 2 rows of dots or columns of dots, I'm given a 4-way arrow. That means that I can take this answer choice and I can actually drag and drop it. So if I wanted that one to be here or at the top, then I can do that. Okay, so a second ago I mentioned images as part of your answers. You'll notice also that when I hover over the answer choice, I have an image. So I can click here, and then I can actually go to Google image search, and I'm going to search for a thumbs up. Oh, I love that one. So that one works. And then I click insert, and now that becomes the question, part of my question or answer choices that are given to students. It's a visual cue. So again, Google image search. Sometimes, you can kind of find things that you want to use. Sometimes they're not perfect. We'll try this one. I think it may show both hands though. And it does, and that's not quite what I'm looking for. So I'm going to just click X to get rid of it. This is all you have to do. And then hover over it again and go back to my picture. And you notice that it still kept the previous search. So maybe that one wasn't perfect, but there's another one. We'll try this one, that thumbs up. So that we have a smiley face here, we just have a thumbs up here, and then for sad, Google image search, and that's a decent one. Click insert. Now you may say, well, is it really going to look like this when my students see it? How can I kind of get an idea for what this will look like on their end? If we look up here at the top, you have an eyeball, and it says preview when you hover your mouse over that. So if I click preview, this is what the answer choices are going to look like for your students. And this is exactly what the whole form would absolutely look like. So even if you just wanted to do one question, how are you feeling right now? Students can click great, they can click okay or sad, click submit, and they're done. But what's the problem with this right now is that we don't know what students said what as far as how they were filling this out. So that's part of the setup, and I'm going to go ahead and click leave, and that's okay. It doesn't make any changes to the actual form itself. But when we're talking about setting this up so that it will collect their information, we're going to get into that part in a different video. Right now, we're just completely setting up the form itself and kind of going over some of the question choices. So let's say that I'm happy with this particular question and I'm ready to add a new one. You'll notice that you have this toolbar on the right-hand side that kind of floats as you scroll down the page. So I'm going to click the plus sign, and you notice it adds another multiple choice question. Whichever was the last question type that you used, that's the same question type that it's going to use for your next question. So let's say that I instead want check boxes. So I want to give my kids multiple options so they can check more than one item. What do you need from me this week? Help with math, help with Google Classroom. So you can give them other options. You just keep clicking. Help with spelling. And you also, you notice it says add other. So these don't necessarily have to be options that you only provide for them. If there's something that maybe you haven't thought of that maybe is weighing on their mind, you can click add other, and because this is a checkbox situation, they can type in their own response and then check the box. And again, I'm going to click required to make sure that they answer it. I'm going back up to that eyeball to preview it to see what this is going to look like. So what do you need from me this week? You'll notice it allows me to check all of these, and in other, because it's a required question, it's going to require that I give a response here. What do you need from this week? A smile, and then I can click submit. So I'm going to close this again. And again, that doesn't hurt your form. That was just a preview of the form itself. So this gives you an idea of what a checkbox question looks like. So in my next one, we can take a look at some of the other answer choices. Now, let's say for this one that you decided, you know what, I don't want them to choose more than one option. I want them to focus on one thing. It is possible to go from checkboxes to multiple choice, and then we can preview that, and I'll show you what that looks like. So now they only have multiple choice, but it's still kept the other as a field that they can fill in. So in this case, they have to choose an answer, but they cannot choose, obviously, more than one. And if you are deciding, no, that's the wrong question type, Or maybe it put it in as multiple choice and you thought you had chosen checkboxes. That's okay. Click here and go to checkboxes and you're right back to checkboxes. So that's the nice thing about Google Form is that if you do kind of make a mistake in the way you set up a question type, it's easy to go back and fix that. So you notice that I have my third question started here. Choose which day you prefer to meet live. And so in this case, when I do that, Google has gotten so intuitive that they can pick out words and start giving you all of these different choices for you so you don't have to do all the typing. This doesn't happen all the time, but they can pick out keywords. So in this case, which day was the keyword in this one? So I'm going to say add all, but then I'm going to get rid of Sunday and Saturday because obviously we don't meet with our students Sunday and Saturday. But instead of making it a multiple choice, I want to do a drop down so I can show you what that field looks like and also make this one required. So I'm going to hit the preview one again and go down here, and you notice that it becomes a drop down and it only gives them the option to choose one. Now your other question type, so again if I add another question, you notice that we also have the ability to do a linear scale. So you can set the scale from 1 to 5, you can set it from 0 all the way up to 10. And then 0 would be, let's say, worst and best. So on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being best, how do you feel today? Make this required, and let's take a look and see what that one looks like. So it gives them the option on this scale of how they feel on 1 to 10. You can obviously narrow that down further. I just decided to put 1 to 10 so you could see what that would look like, but they can only choose one option for that particular type of question. So I'm going to leave there. For other question types, you can also choose a multiple choice grid. So in this case, you have your rows and you have your columns. So row 1 might be Monday, row Tuesday, and this could be happy, sad, okay. So let's take a look and see what that question type field looks like. So in this case, they would choose Monday, how are you feeling? Happy, sad, or okay. Tuesday, how are you feeling? Happy, sad, or okay. But again, if you want them to check in daily with this type of question, I wouldn't set it up like this, but I did want to show you, and just kind of ignore that because I didn't change the actual question. But I did want you to see what a multiple choice question grid would actually look like. Okay, and our last question type is a checkbox grid. So this is going to work just like regular checkboxes would. If we do a preview, that means they can choose more than one box. So if on Monday they felt both happy and sad, then they could choose both of those. And so you notice it says this question requires at least one response per row. So it won't let them submit the actual form until they've answered the question. So if I try and actually submit this right now, it's going to actually give me that same message that this is required and all of these are required. So it will not let the student submit the form until they've completed all of those required questions. Okay, so in a nutshell, that is how you do the basic question type, and that is how you insert images as your question choices. Just one more quick thing, you can also insert images as part of the actual question. So if I wanted to put in an image for the actual question, and let's say that this is, this is a geography question, let's say. And so I want to do the United States. And let's see, we'll do this one and insert. And so I want to ask them a question such as, which state is north of Kansas? And so then obviously I wouldn't have these pictures here as my answers, but you notice that you can use images as part of the actual question as well as part of the answers. So just to give you a really quick preview, this is what it would look like if you had an image as part of the question and then image as part of your answer selections as well. So give yourself a little bit of time and play around with the different question types. The one thing that I haven't showed you yet is how to insert a video, but that will be something that we will do in another video, and also how to do some other options that you have in Google Forms for chunking the different types of questions and also choosing your own color palette. So I hope you found this first video useful. Go ahead and play around with Google Forms. You can't break it, and just have fun with it for right now.